you are a community club. DCFC is a community-built club. And it will always
team
be.
is pitching a plan to revitalize a historic gem in our community, and it's a project that's driven by their passion for their sport.
State of disrepair right now. Concrete sort of crumbling a little bit. The bleachers.
Football club. We're at Keywood Stadium. This stadium was built in 1936. Simply put,
it's amazing to see just how far they have come. Years ago, they were playing over at Gas Tech, and now so many people.
The post and Stephon St. Louis is there to clear it.
Yeah, in the background, you know, they give us the 12th man. You know, it's awesome.
Games, fans to watch. We're happy to put on a show for all these guys that came out to see us play.
Act when we move, they move, and just communication is the biggest part.
Great. I think we could have earned a shutout earlier against Sparta in the year.
Awesome. You know, the atmosphere is amazing.
Monday with the right foot. It's in the back of the net.
People know us now. People know what to expect. Now we gotta take it to another level.
Look, city till I die. Say hi to the bad fella. Hella smooth with the flow, so grab your umbrella. Yeah, we make it rain, bring the pain. Things are changing. Power rankings take a spanking, got them rearranging. They said Denise are all stars till we deboed all y'all. Ball of fist and brawl y'all. Yeah, we pissed off all y'all, and we thin but still winning. Grinning at the top, got up under head spinning, make that chin pop. Blue collar clocking in. They been mocking us for days till they step into the key, and they been leaving with a fade, doubting us, but then they swayed. Say we pout, they throwing shade. You will never have what we have, time to get the blade, cause we'll be cutting them up. Yeah, we're shutting them up. We ain't bluffing, tell you something, better knuckle up. Y'all ain't nothing but chumps, we put in overtime. We'll be putting in work until it's closing time. City till I die, talking blood, sweat, and tears. City till I die, we've been building this for years. City till I die.
So this is, I think, the perfect point for an intro here, because we got to take note of this circumstance before we lay into the things that
crossover event.
Yeah, before we lay into this event, before we even talk about the significance, there's a breaking news development significance that's happened here, gentlemen. Jaime Ventura, upping that looks like he just got a trim on that hair.
Well, the women lost, so there was no harm.
I actually got my beard updated today because I needed to, because I had a hard time combing through. It was getting that fucking thick. So I was like, it's time.
No, yeah, the girl who cuts my hair is pregnant, and so I was really hoping that in the end, it was a blessing that the women lost, because this girl is going on maternity leave in a week, and so I had to get the haircut.
Last chance.
Yep. So.
We talked about the breaking news significance. Now it's time for this other significance. This weekend, we'll talk about what's all taking place in this weekend and the main purpose of tonight's episode, but it is a special episode in the fact of that it is not just a tunnel talk. It is a crossover event, as our guest host tonight has been my other brother from another mother, and the namesake behind our Majors Detroit segment of City Make Spence, Sean Spence. Welcome back to the 451 Tunnel.
This is like the Mariah Carey ODB collab back in 1994.
Oh God! Now, okay, and then
which
Sean
is
died.
which? Who is which? No, don't answer.
Yeah, you guys are Mariah Carey for sure.
I don't know. Sean's got a sultry voice.
Yeah. Okay. I need you to all say I don't know her. Just one
Still
time. Toss your hair a little bit.
I will say though, Spence is also I will say, with you growing that hair out lately, you're also channeling ODB meets a cooler Cat Williams. So
I have to say that I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror the other day, and I looked uncannily like my Uncle Tim, which means this haircut is doomed. It needs to change. And it's only my personal inertia that's kept it from changing already. So yeah, don't fall in love with me having long hair, because it's got to go.
Don't cry for me, Uncle Tim.
And shout out to Uncle Tim.
What's up, Uncle?
I mean, Uncle Tim left when he came and lived with us for a little bit when I was young, and when he left behind the Grease soundtrack and Fleetwood Mac Rumors and a Yes album. I can't remember which one. Fragile. And those were instrumental, literally in some ways, to expanding my understanding of what is out there. He left little traces of the world behind in our like sequestered Christian home, and it did the devil's work. So bravo, Uncle Tim. Thank you.
Was Fragile the Yes album that had Roundabout on it?
Yeah. Fragile's there, like the one with the planet on it. Yeah.
I fucking love Roundabout. I definitely got. I started listening to the rest, and I was like, why didn't I check out as a guitar player? I'm like, why never I checked out Steve Howe earlier, especially when as a Rush guy myself.
I'm personally into Chandelier Primaturis, which is like the Fish, Chandelier Primaturis, which is a much weirder song from that album. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about Yes for a long time, and thereby drive off every single person who wants to listen to this. So
it would still
let's get it popping.
And it would still maybe only finish one of our deep dive sessions that Alan, Adam, and I did last summer. So as Jaime's stepping away real quick, we're starting off with the main event from this weekend. Detroit City women hosting the USL National League semifinal against the Colorado Storm team. That while I was talking stuff about a storm drying up and going back to Colorado and John Denver this and John Denver that, Colorado Storm turned out to be a really fucking good side.
Yeah, they're good.
Detroit City with a little bit of rotation. We've talked about it. Sean, you broke some news about what the lineup was going to look like and City Make Spence earlier in the week. Jaime and I talked about it a little bit in the throw-ins at the end of last week. Bit of rotation. Avery Peters, for example, instead of playing her role as center back, starting on what looked like the right wing. But then in the not even earlier than that, a glimpse of City magic that. Being that was the last goal of our regular season, goddamn. But then at that moment, after City took the lead amongst what was a great sight of a strong crowd, Colorado Storm took over, and the eventual pressure capsized in the form of a header off a corner. Everybody crowding the box, and basically, it kind of looked similar to the scenes of the outside of Hard Rock Stadium Sunday for people trying to get into the Copa America final. Except Gabby Schreiber had no room to work with. But when you play, as Sean, as you mentioned it in your Words About Shapes piece, when you put a ball in like that, the end result's going to usually be, if it's laid on, a goal, and that's what it was. Little bit of City having to save in there, a great couple moments in the second half. Joelle Washington, the best chance in particular for City. Yeah. But in stoppage time, the second time Colorado Storm hit the post, turned out to set in the putback 2-1 win to the visitors. Not the first time we saw something like that. We'll talk about that later on in that day. We'll talk about later on in the show tonight. But this is the one that kind of left me feeling more than words. Nothing really, to be honest with you. A wonderful season by Detroit City comes to an end in heartbreaking fashion against a team that, if they play like that, they're winning. They're beating NC Courage U23 this coming weekend. But gents, 15 matches played this year, 12 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. The 1 loss in the stoppage moments in the next to last game of the season. How are we all feeling after that? Sean, I'll have you take the lead since you're the guest tonight.
Well, I watched the match a couple times since watching it live. And the first thing I think that I took away from it, and that I felt while it was going on, is that it was a really full-blooded match. It was Colorado had a little size advantage on City, not really in height, but in kind of like thickness. They had some women who could knock you down basically, and did so. And they were also the first team that was able to kind of play through our pressure, especially being able to play through that middle third. That's where we've always chopped it up. Like sometimes the high press doesn't work, but it's very rare that teams have been able to play through that middle third and get into the attacking zone even against us this year. And Colorado did consistently. So it was a match played on much more even terms than our women were used to. That's something that's going to happen. This is how it works in these playoffs, right? These are very good teams who've kind of stomped everyone flat all season, and so they get up against each other. It's like, all right, well, this is a match, and it was a fantastic advertisement for women's football at this level. It was thoughtful. The changes that Dave and his staff made, I thought were interesting, and did kind of solve a couple of problems that they were having. But then Colorado answered those changes with subtle changes of their own, little changes in positioning of the wingbacks and stuff. It was fantastic at every level. This is great football. And on a different day, maybe City has a chance to wins this match. But I think that what I see is that this is a match where the depth that we had lost the previous week really told. There is a drop off after Sophia Romine in that attacking midfield. There is a drop off from the children to everyone else in the attack. It was a match where it's hard not to look at it and think, okay, well, if the starting 11 from the previous weekend played this match, it probably looks a little different, because the press would be a lot more ferocious, a lot quicker, and frankly, the players that we lost were players that had that concision in the attacking zone and were able to create real chances. So we started looking a little bit more like the men do a lot of the time, which is like, possession that doesn't end in chance creation. That kind of, it's like we get into the attacking zone and all look at each other like, who's going to do the thing?
Right.
So I don't know. I'm feeling conscious of the length of time I've been talking right now, so I'm just gonna back out,
you forget that this is the
bluegrass.
You forget that Red used to have segments on this podcast.
I have. It's been a while since I was on a podcast where the focus of the podcast wasn't get Sean to talk about things. So I'm trying to rein it in.
You made a good point, Sean, and Jaime, I'm going to go to you on this. And from my vantage point Saturday night, I was seeing what we'd usually be trying to do: move the ball, create the ball, through this in and outs, get the movements. Except one thing that I was seeing repeatedly was we were second best in the battles. We were second best in the ball, and that's, I think, the sign of, hey, we've met our match. This version of this starting lineup met its match in the team that we played on Saturday. Jaime, I know your view was a bit more in the corner up in the west stand. What were you kind of your takeaways from that, as far as not winning the one-on-ones, maybe not being as quick to the ball perhaps as Colorado was, and maybe what could have been maybe if Sophia or the Childers sisters were even playing on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was telling. I can't remember at what point Kayla and Joel came on, but I thought it was telling at some point we ditched that idea and we pushed Drew Martin and Emily all the way high to try and get a little bit of pressure on Colorado. Because we just didn't have any punch up there. We didn't have the same athleticism that we normally do. And so, but yeah, it just wasn't enough on the day. I mean, that happens. I think Sean is right. Like if we'd had the match day squad that we'd had the previous weekend, are we in there? Like we might win that game. And but that's just the way the luck of the draw or the unluckiness of the scheduling. Like it just wasn't meant to be, which is a shame because it was such a great season from start to finish, or start to almost finish, I guess. But yeah, I mean, even at that, I thought it was going to go to extra time. I thought it was going to go to penalty kicks. It's just, whenever I hit the woodwork, it's hard to react quickly enough to what the ball is doing, and sometimes it falls straight to the opponent and they bury it, and it's a shame. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, like all you can say is what a great season, what fun season for us as fans, and I think I remember at the end of last year we talked about like, well, what kind of progress has this team made? Like obviously they had a better record last year than either the two previous years, but then we'd also, Indy 11 had bounced and Racing Louisville had bounced to a different division, and so it's like, well, we still couldn't beat Midwest. We still, like finished whatever it was, third or fourth in the league. But then, like to see the women really boss things and this year and beat Midwest twice and beat Indy 11. Like, I mean, it's clear progress all the way around. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Alan, you were in the supporter stand. It was a match that I think definitely the game that we've been waiting for, as what we've talked about, and also vantage point of the numbers of the people in the stands, what you're looking to see, the atmosphere at times during that match, like the passion that people were feeling during that match. Like I felt that it gave me days of feelings of the past, pre-USL, maybe even pre-NISA at times. And you were in it, I was down in field. You were in it, like, in addition to your thoughts in the match, kind of feels like being in that feeling and seeing how everyone took in that match.
Yeah, it was a doubleheader. We weren't sure what the crowd composition would be like after the first game, which didn't go that great. Which I guess maybe we'll talk about that, but so it was just kind of an open question of what kind of crowd we were going to have, and I was surprised that it did fill in, kind of with a different crowd.
Yes.
So really, people who came out to see this game, and that was gratifying.
Yes.
So the stands were reasonably full. We're on par with a men's match. So I think that we certainly had the audience for the kind of game that we expected to have, and we did get. In terms of the supporter section, I mean, the core of the supporter section has been there all the time, and kind of we're wondering where's everybody else. But this time, it was a pretty full complement, most of the regulars plus more. So it was as good, and I mean that in a sense of the atmosphere, as any women's match we've had. So I think it was a proper national semifinal. We did our part. In terms of the game, it's a national semifinal, which means 3 of the 4 teams are going to go home sad. That one team is going to win the final, and then the other 3 who've all had superior seasons defeating. I mean, what did Nolan Bianchi say, that there was 80 teams in the league?
Yeah.
So these were the top 4 teams out of 80 teams across the country. That's kind of the pinnacle, and we were there. We were part of that. So I think that's a tremendous. It's a tremendous success to be in that game, and the what occurred between the whistles. We could debate that. I was glad we were just there, I would have been better if we won that game. Absolutely, for sure. I mean, there's no debating that. But I felt more shock than disappointment, because I like Jaime said, I think most people anticipated that this would go into extra time, that we would be able to kind of hold off what was just a rampant Colorado attack through that second half.
Yeah.
Just to kind of just like hang on for dear life until we got to extra time, and then kind of allow some of the random variables of, exhaustion, the heat, and just kind of see what we could do. I did feel like we were starting to come into the game a little bit better towards the end of that second half. But we were chasing the game much of that, for much of it. And so it wasn't a complete shock that Colorado was able to capitalize on, the possession they had, and just it was a smash mouth game, though. I mean, it was just like these 2 teams just really going at it. And that is something that we didn't really experience much during the season. But in terms of going up against a team like that, I mean, that's you got to experience that. Yeah. I remember watching the Central Conference semifinal between Minnesota Aurora and Indy 11, and I thought, wow, this is kind of boring. Well, it wasn't boring. It was 2 good teams kind of canceling each other out. So all these teams who had progressed that far, I think, really were dynamite, and getting to experience a league final, a national. I think that was a really good experience for all the players, many of whom, may have not had that opportunity in either their youth club or what have you. Probably some have, some haven't. So I was curious to see what the comments were of the players after the game, and I think it did have an impact on them. But maybe we'll talk about that some more.
I'll cut base on that real quick. Get your thoughts on it. Losing my train of thought. NC Courage U23 beat Tennessee Soccer Club in the other semifinal in stoppage in extra time. That game did go 120. NC's had a 17-year-old with the goal. So, Colorado Storm, NC23, do you guys feel like we played last week? The team that we played last weekend is going to be the team that wins W League on Saturday?
I don't really know enough to speak intelligently on it. I thought the Storm looked very good, but we are in that part of the season where this is what the U23 concept with North Carolina gives them a huge advantage, because there's college players on that Colorado team, and their colleges are going to be like, a lot of college coaches are not real impressed that you're playing for the USL W championship. They're like, I don't give a fuck. Camp starts on Saturday, and you got to be there.
It becomes an outside variable then.
Right, exactly. And North Carolina, because they're a developmental squad for an NWSL team, they're not as much populated with college kids. They've got a lot of kids they're developing, like the 17-year-old that scored a goal. And so, that's a variable that's unlikely to swing towards Colorado. But beyond that, the fact that Indy 11 won it last year with largely the crew that we saw, tells me that it's kind of either one of these teams could win it. Because basically what we're saying is we're not looking at super teams here that are going to just come out, be lethal in every way, and cut you to pieces. The way we looked, honestly, at times. So, I think it's kind of toss up. I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about the players' demeanor after the match. How clearly every single one of them was pointing toward next year. The coaches are like, next year we're fucking winning it. We're coming back and winning it. Very. I think Avery told some of the media that the Michigan teammates are kind of like, hey, how do I get myself a Detroit City uniform? And we had a good recruiting year this year, but I think it's this is kind of like college football. It's really about stacking up recruits and having just layers of talent that you can you're going, your family's going to the UP for a week. Well, that's cool. We'll see you in 2, and having somebody else that can get in there and be amazing. Which is what they had this year, and what is apparently needed to be a dominant team in this league. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. The other thing is that Gabby Schreiber, after the match, who was reported to be close to kind of retiring before the season, people said that she talked about it. She started talking immediately about, okay, we're going to get something together for the winter. That's what I'm looking forward to now. That is one of the tributaries to the river of success they created this year. And the fact that I think Gabby was one of the driving forces behind that, and the fact that she's immediately after defeat got the bit in her teeth and let's go do it. This is not the pinnacle for this group. I don't think.
There's 2 moments I personally had in there, and agreeing with you, seeing the demeanor. Gabby, I think, definitely was the one I felt like that was feeling heavy the most, I would feel like, and that's close. And also, I agree with you, especially when I watched the interview she did on the club's content that dropped, I think on Monday it dropped. And there's a sense of, I think, hey, a drive. Danny Evans, to me, couple of months. Get ready. See y'all in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So that's and without knowing what the fuck we're doing, it's all right, we're doing arena again. Let's go.
Right. The tricky thing is the league we were in kind of crashed and burned before the end of the season, right? So I think that's the complicating factor. Is are we going to have to start a fucking league again? Sean Mann is going to be no, he has PTSD. They're going to find him under his desk. He wet himself. He's rocking back and forth. Oh, Sean, what's wrong? They talked about starting a league,
USL goes indoor.
So, yeah.
Whatever we end up with, we're going to be in it. So,
and then I think of the second thing. So after that, Dave comes by, do our hug, chat for a minute. Eliza Baran comes to me, chatted, and I mentioned, and I know she's the one that's been through the thick of this like with Gabby, with Kayla, with all this years, and I was like, think of where y'all were and think of where you're at now. And she has the pause. She's like, you know what? We are not going to have this feeling next year.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, all right, they're fucking ready. And it's like, all right. So while we stumble for Jaime, we're early in the game. We're going to be a year away. We're going to be 10 months away from W League. We know it's going to come by quick. Life is coming by quick. We got to see what we're recruiting. I agree with Sean. It's a game of, who's the knowers.
I think we're likely to get basically everybody back.
Yeah.
Everyone who played quite a bit will be enthusiastic to return. It'll be interesting to see what happens with, because of the calendars, the USL W League is kind of set up as a trialist league for Super League.
Right.
If you're coming out of college, they don't have to throw you a contract. They'll be like, well, let's see what happens. And, we would have Tatiana Mason, if a future Tatiana Mason would be playing with us the whole season with the understanding that, they're probably going to sign based on that. Their agents working the phones the whole time and saying, look at what we're doing. We're tearing everybody up. We're going to start edging on to professionalism if the Super League can get some traction. I think this is likely to become like the men were, where we were ready for the men to be a professional thing for a couple years as supporters, because we were just it was so disappointing to have this, big hollow for 9 months, and I think the women are going to start to create that kind of same momentum where it's like, well, okay, now there are simple avenues to participation as a professional side. Like, let's create some jobs for women and let's get it going.
The interesting thing is that we know that the college players weren't available for all the reasons, and we had the women who were involved with the indoor league. But what we were able to do is build an infrastructure that was almost a full season.
Yeah.
The kind of the structure of practices and the coaching staff and the commitments around that and the club doing their thing, and that sets us up well for the future as well. And I know that the indoor league was a grassroots by the players initiative, but it made sense, it continues.
Once people start showing up, now you can make a budget, right? It's not speculative at all. Like, okay, we can sell 500 tickets a match. Well, let's fucking go. It's not a huge budget, but it's enough to pay for, travel and refs and per diem and stuff. Like, okay, let's get it popping. It'll just be the 74th thing that someone at City is doing, and it's fine. That's how we do things.
I feel like I remember last winter or going into January, like the amount of sighing. Well, I think I was chatting with Sean, man, on a Saturday morning for the fucking while I was watching Crystal Palace lose to fucking Everton, and that moment of stressed out, not knowing what this league is like. Oh, we're supposed to have a conference in Grand Rapids, and they haven't said it's supposed to be next week. We haven't heard it. It's almost like this, and then it turns out to be this the state that they didn't want to do. The players were like, "We're doing this. Give us the resources. We want to play for City. We don't want to fucking play for Waza." What up, Dom? And any of those type things. And guess what? It turned out to be the thing that, after how shit last year was, the last part of it, because the women were done early in the summer last year. And, it was a feel-good thing. going into March, going into April, and then the women starting W League. And now it's like, yeah. So when Danny Evans is like, see you in a couple months, it's like, all right, let's go. Because I've said this on repeat so many times, but I feel like this is the energy this club has. Fatima Nasser telling me first game of was after only scoring 1 goal on him in the first intermission. And he goes, "Are you having fun? Y'all look like you're not having fun." And then they score, 15 more in that match, 14 more in that match, whatever it was, right? And I'm like, that's the aggression, that's the energy, and that I think you get to see in what it sounds like the plans being this, not Detroit City women this year, but Detroit City women next year, 2 years, 3 years. I think this is the setting stones. And maybe you have where it's like Dave's seeing like, okay, here are the people that I'm seeing down the line help run this the rest of the way.
Yeah. Like that's one of the big questions really hanging over this is does Dave want to do it again? I know that he is really like he has loved it so much and felt like it's a spectacular group and he loves being around them and all that stuff, but also he has another spectacular group called his family that he likes to see. And
also good.
I think he is weighing that out, in the process of weighing that out right now, and figuring out basically whether Danny is ready to jump in there or, do they want to just go again with the same staff, because the staff was very good this year too. Like,
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
This is the first time I really felt like this was our women's team had a staff. Like, it wasn't like a manager and like a trainer, this is, Dave really is super delegatory. He's kind of a consensus leader. And, I think those his assistants really provided some spark to our ideas at various times during the season. We were never slow to make changes. It seemed like when they would spot the problems and come up with a solution, quickly and efficiently, and clearly had explained the solution well to the subs who were coming in, because they would come in and like immediately do the thing that tore the game open, and that's, when you see that again and again and again, that's coaching. Like that's what coaching looks like. When it's being able to give players, an understanding of their roles, and then in the specific game situation saying, okay, but also here's some rules for this specific situation. You got to mark the shit out of 12. Okay, the 12, don't let her touch the ball. Like that's we've had enough of that, or whatever. I was impressed at every level with this team.
Agreed.
I'm very excited to see what happens going forward.
I mean, Dave kind of touched on this himself in terms of, was this just magic or are we building something here? And it's kind of hard to tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
And hopefully that we can build on this, that it isn't just the kind of the magic of the moment, that everything came together with the right people and the right mix of people and all of that.
Right. I mean, we have seen that kind of thing with the NPSL team, right?
Yeah.
In 2018, I think we were like, let's fucking go. And then we stumbled immediately and we're kind of out of it. And it was like, God, like we were going through the professional transition or starting it. And,
thank God we played Indiana twice.
So we've been through that kind of vibe with the guys.
Seemed like this year we were reliant on some like one or two superstar producers.
Right.
So I would say the likelihood of being able to build off of this seems high.
Yeah, I think that
as opposed to, player X who is just, killing it, and then all of a sudden they're off to, Seattle or wherever.
Right. Yeah, I think that we're having there's a conversation at the in the meta of football right now between systemic play and inspired moment play. We were a very inspired moment team. Our system was kind of loose. We had pressing triggers and comprehensive coverage of zones and things like that, like basic 21st century football. But we weren't systemic at all in our build-up. It was very much, I think that the route forward is not more system, but just more superstars. And I think that's likely to happen. I think Lily Jaco is building a legitimate brand that she's going to be able to leverage as soon as she's in the NCAA. And I think her example is interesting. If you watch her social media, it's very canny, it's smart and positive and like team oriented. She's building a brand, right? It's super smart, and we are the biggest megaphone in the potentially in the nation, really. If you want to play in USL W, you're not going to get more attention with anyone else. So I think that we might see like a player like Era Karolak not deciding to go play in Tacoma, next year.
Right. Join her sister.
Right. Well, I mean, look, she wanted to play here. I think her college coach was very, there's lots of conversations in these situations. If I remember right, I think her college coach was kind of like, I really recommend you take this. You're going to be seen by a whole, I think the idea was that there are regional scouting groups in NWSL, and it really benefits you to go to a different region for the summer and get a different scouting group looking at you, so that it's not just like Chicago and scouting you, Kansas City, that you're getting all the West Coast teams scouting you. Right. I think that's the idea, and it probably is right. Agents make money for a reason, right? I don't think it was emotional. I don't think she was rejecting Detroit City. I think that, she got advice that that's where she needs to go. But, maybe that advice is different this year. If you're a college student who, has an agent on retainer just in case you go pro, and they might be saying, 3 camera high def streams of every home game, and, like the most well-known branding in the nation, really, in football. Like, come on, man. Like, we're like, all right, you can make some money here. Go and ball out. So I don't know, we'll see. And it will be interesting to see if we get a bunch of mercenary players, how they respond to the extremely holistic Dave vibe. They might reject capitalism and smash the patriarchy on their way out the door. So
I think it's telling to me. I really feel like seeing downwards at how many, not just the people in the stands, and you're talking about becoming, but I look at the USL and W League promotion and all, especially when you're realizing that you got Super League about to be starting in a month or so, but seeing USL representatives, those that are running these social media accounts, those that are getting whatever tacos, we're at halftime, and I'm like, oh, the tacos, and I'm like, oh, wait, then you see the tweets of said tacos, and you're like, oh shit, that's the guy, to 20 feet to the right of me, and somebody and their team. Point being is, and being like, had we won, final would have been in Keyworth.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
No, confirmed. So I tells you that there's a name when you think of USL women's soccer in there. Detroit City's name in the mix. We're not yet an announced Super League side, but when you see that commercials of the Super League things, what's one of the first images you see in that commercial? Keyword.
Yeah, I mean, now that we've got TV cameras properly placed in Keyworth, and I think the league has gotten religion about Keyworth Stadium in a dramatic way, and are secretly crying that we're going to go build a stadium. They're like, no, it's our authenticity, exactly. But yeah, it really is just kind of that simple. That a lot of these teams play in really unsightly stadiums, and we play in one that looks like East Beasley Town or something plays there, and so it's got a lot of resonance along a lot of different dimensions.
Last question I'll have for it, and then we gotta go through the therapy session of what was the first match on Saturday.
Why are men?
Why? When the new stadium opens, hopefully in 2027, will it be the first season of Detroit City's women's Super League team? Sean, yes or no?
Yes, I think it'd be a failure not to be putting as many dates as possible on the field. Like, you got to make that money, son.
Do you see them making the announcement within, say, the next 6 to 12 months of this great season that we had, to capitalize and get people to start looking forward to things?
No. If you're talking about 27, I think they're going to count backwards maybe 18 months and announce it like January 26, or some time around there, because that'll give you time to ramp up and build the technical staff and start recruiting players and all that. So yeah, I wouldn't expect anything. That means that they could maybe piggyback off in the next season. If City do well, then they could move the announcement up a bit and say, hey, some of these women might show up here again next fall.
5 or 10.
Okay.
In that statement too, as you're saying that and ahs. Yeah, I can see that. Alan, what about you? How are you feeling on that? Yay and
I don't think so. Not out of the gate. I think there's some skepticism about the league that is going to only be
data by then
dispelled, by facts. That they can say this thing's working or this thing isn't working.
Is it going to be dispelled by facts and logic, Alan? Is that what's about to happen?
Well, we'll take what we can get.
Will be an eye in the sky.
I think the money piece is also going to be a little tricky, because doing it upright is going to cost a lot of money, and we got to figure that out. And right now, the gate numbers don't support it. I mean, that's just honesty. The numbers of butts in seats is just not the same as for the women as the men, and there's lots of reasons why that's true, and some of them we have control over and some we don't. So I think it's going to take some creativity to make it work. I think ultimately, is it in the timeline down the road? Yes, I think so for sure. But to pin a date on it, I'm just not feeling it. Who knows? Maybe that changes in terms of, you get a commitment from Ally to like, hey, if you do this thing, we're going to give you a bag of money. All of a sudden, it's back on. but
that's
you know,
that's the kind of
short of
thing
that,
I
don't know.
anticipate is that, like, if we've seen anything in the last 2 years, is that the bags of money being handed to women's teams are much larger than they have.
Yes,
been in the
that is
past.
true. That is very true. It's
so, like, kind of assuming that there is going to be a slight continuation of the trend of more butts and seats, and a slight continuation of the trend of sponsors really wanting to give money to get women's football or women's sports, a shake. I like, I can see Ally just being like, okay, here's, $5 million, and we'll be the front of shirt sponsor for 5 years.
And given the size of our operation, something like that could make it work.
Right.
Whereas I think for some of these other clubs, they would need more. So, I mean, I have the same questions in terms of the money piece for the stadium itself. So, not just the women's team, pro team, but virtually everything about the club right now. So,
I think also
the club has always made good money off of food and beverages. That's been part of the model all along, and I think it will maintain itself as part of the model. I think you're probably like to see the women's matches being played in like a half stadium, because you don't want to staff the whole thing. Like, I mean, it's just things like that where, okay, if we've got 18,000 seats, 16,000, whatever we're supposed to be, 8,000 will be enough. Like, that's fine. So it'll be like, one end and one side are open, and it'll be fine. The main thing will be getting people in there, regardless of like ticket price. Like, just get people in there, because then you start selling them stuff, and everyone has a great time, and they go home and tell people, and the virus spreads.
And I think too,
I missed the beginning of that.
I was going to say, the Ally. I feel like with Ally, the sponsor, I feel like Ally would probably become, if they, a prominent sponsor, the names on the shirts, I can see them being like, hey, we'll give money to the club, we'll give money to the men, but we're willing to be more of a prominent sponsor for the women. It seems like, based off of what Ally's marketing and promotion that they already do, it seems like they're putting more of a front foot when it comes to club sponsorship on the women's team than it really is on the men's team, which is a cool thing on that. And I'm wondering if that expands in a way, or like I said, if that becomes the thing that leads to the bankrolling. Another thing that I'm wondering also too is, I'm thinking about it as, from those that I know that maybe were season ticket holders that aren't season ticket holders anymore. The cost of the increasing cost of matches, not just the men, but also the women. Rates for ticketings that are going in there, or even the cost of single match park day at Playfair. Like, those type of costs in particular can be influenced, those using or maybe being swayed against going because of these costs. I think it'll be very, very interesting in those regards. However, I feel like people want to see a team that's successful, that plays great football, when it comes to soccer, plays great football, and is frankly put winning. And it took 5 seasons outdoor, and now you're seeing that, and the fruits of the labor, the talent being brought in, the attention it's getting, not just from the club, not just from us, but your news, WDIV, CBS Detroit, the league in general through their partners. That's prominent. But this is why I think let's agree with, like, what is Super League going to be like? They got to play. They got to get through this first year, the year after that, right?
That's the thing. Like, there are so many massive variables in play here that, like, this is a pure prognostication. Like, what I'm saying is bullshit, right? We're just bullshitting. Don't mistake this for expert analysis, because an expert would just tell you, I am unwilling to place a substantial bet on this.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like let's see what happens with the Super League. Like it could collapse before January. I mean, we've seen this kind of thing happen, right? It's happened for top level leagues in the women in the United States twice before. So that's kind of why I didn't want it to be top level, because it's just feels haunted to me. Let's go for second division, man.
God,
Exactly.
Yeah, for real.
That fucking gif that we kept doing for the Cosmos with the Grim Reaper, not taking that with Women's League, right?
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
Hey, you know what? I think we're in a painful mood. Let's transition.
It's time to talk about the men.
Dude, why are men? So I made a prediction twice last week, and I that both with Sean and Adam Make City Make Spence on the majors, and then with Jaime on throw ends on Thursday. That because you guys know this, people may listen to know I'm a stickler for creating musical pun references, dad jokes, all that shit. And because it was a home match, we weren't going to walk in Memphis. We were going to walk on Memphis. I told Adam on Saturday that I was manifesting this saying, because I'm hoping that this happens. Not that, like, as Sean, you've just mentioned a few things, I didn't have the analytical statistical evidence to say that. I was just clearly manifesting because I wanted to see it fucking happen. It didn't fucking happen. City, Elvis Amo back in the starting lineup. Looks like the basis of the team shape we've known for throughout the year. No lie, Jop, because he got angry last week and double yellowed. Like everyone got angry at the ref, the greatest heel, maybe one of the greatest heel turns in the history of referees. Some might say. I just say just another Saturday at Keyworth.
It was extraordinary. The previous match.
No lie, but that means you have someone that Danny Dico has referred to as someone that really talks a lot, especially for a Scouser, and Ryan Williams. Next to James Murphy, you had Ben and Reese on the wings, Elvis Amo back up there, Maxi, and a City team that seemed to have the ball, but nothing really too much of substance. And 901 in the first half, not really have much of the ball, but they forced a shot off the crossbar. City second half, Yazid Matthews comes on, gets a little bit more gritty. Ben Morris hits the post. But something that I was thinking about, and then Nolan Bianchi confirmed my suspicion. One of two subscribers only articles came out today for Detroit City. If you are a new subscriber, one for the women, one for the men. The fourth time in the last 3 home matches for the men, Detroit City concedes a goal in the 80th or later minute. Seeming, if I'm not mistaken, a attempt to clear that bounced off of a Memphis player who then sent it back in, and Bruno Lappa, who withstood some very close level chirping, trying to take the corner. The guy was trying to do his whole best Happy Gilmore thing. And you know what? He scored the goal in the match. So fair play for dealing with that shit in a great way, Bruno Lappa. I don't like it, but you know what? You do your part. We lose the 901 again. 1-0. The final, we have the goals that we have given up in the 80th minute or later in the last 3 matches have cost us 5 points. I don't really have much things positive I feel like to say about it, just because of this match, just because, yeah, we had the ball, but did we create anything much of substance? Alan, why don't you take the lead on this, and then Sean, give me your thoughts and tell me if I'm crazy or not.
Yeah, I was at the practice on Thursday, and it looks good, looks fun. People are working hard. I just don't understand kind of what is happening late in these games, whether it's just a loss of focus or kind of, you know, assuming things are going to get done, just like a breakdown in communication. It's just it's baffling, and I really hate that it's a thing now, because when it's a thing, it's hard to get rid of.
Right.
So, as a supporter, I'm frustrated by the loss of points, because had we not had this thing, we'd probably be in third place right now, or fourth maybe after the last few games. But the picture would be completely different. So, is this an acute problem, or is it a chronic problem? And that's kind of hard to determine. But it's starting to look like a chronic thing, and that's not good. But this time of the season, this shit happens. If we can kind of grab a hold of seeing these games out and not making the previous 80 minutes of work kind of go through the window, we should be okay. And but it happens once. Say, okay, bad day at the office. Happens 3 times. It's like this is an issue, and but even worse though is now that it's a thing, it's in people's heads, and I'm just worried about it becoming a bigger problem than what it is now.
Not just becoming a thing, but becoming a thing at home.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like we shouldn't see this. We've. I know that there's been changes in terms of the backline composition. It's not as ironclad as it used to be, but it's just like, why is this happening? It shouldn't be happening. We know we have trouble scoring goals. That's just been true. But why have we gotten soft in the back? That's kind of like you gotta have something, and we've leaned on the defense. And if we can't lean on the defense, we don't have much to lean on.
How are you feeling on it, Sean?
Well, I think it's interesting that in the Nolan thing today, Danny kind of tries to deflect the blame onto himself and say, maybe I've been going for the win too much, and maybe there's something to that. We were under Trevor, we were a little more cynical and a little more willing to say, all right, this isn't like we're not dominating this match, so we're just gonna kill it off. And take the point, get the fuck out of here, we don't seem. The frightening thing to me is that like that was us going balls out, like that was it. Like we didn't get a single shot on goal, dude, not one. So if we were balls out attacking, like what the fuck? And to me it points to the fact that we were extremely dependent on Elvis to make the offense work. And he is diminished from the player we saw earlier this season by the injury. He's slowly rehabilitating. He can't play a full match. He doesn't have the same explosiveness. He's mental game is still there. He's creating the same kind of problems, but then when the ball comes to him, he isn't just roasting dudes and scoring like he was before.
He's trying to do the play.
Also the loss of Ali. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say he's trying to do the things. He's trying to do the hold-up play. He's trying to do the control. He's trying to get the holding up to get somebody in space. But because he's recovering from injury, he's not yet smooth. He's getting his rhythm back. And
I think he's still injured. That's what it was to me.
I mean,
it's just one of those things where he's at 80%, and it's gonna like he's gaining. a tenth of a percent every day. It's like, okay, well, he'll be really healed by like December 12th. Like, awesome.
No on the ground, but
but it is what it is. Like, this is this is the route. I think that given the problems he was having, the way the adductor muscle was apparently pulled away, like the other option was surgery that probably ends the season. So, and I think he's in his 30s. I think he's probably like, if I can avoid surgery and like my body can heal, like let's do that. And in the meantime, we're extremely dependent on him offensively, and so him diminishes our offensive output. Also, I think the loss of Ali is telling. Ben is not the same player as Ali playing as an inside left is a playmaker, a creative player, and was really key to the kind of like rondo football we were playing in that rampant start to the season. Ben is more direct. He plays like a forward. So he's not, he will link up and do 1-2s, and he's good at that kind of stuff. But he's not going to, take the ball at his feet and sort of slowly work his way infield looking for runs, while kind of shielding the ball. Like, that's just not what he does. Like, he's trying to get shots or quickly get the ball to somebody who's going to get a shot. And Reese is a little rough on the right sometimes. Like he's got his moments and he's extremely physical, but he's not very technical. So it's hit or miss what's going to happen at the end of all that running. I think that we would benefit from being a little more cynical. The defensive midfield that we had out there to begin the match was James Murphy and Ryan Williams, and that's perfect. Like, that is against Memphis, like a quite cynical team that does a lot of simulation and shit. Like, having those two together really did kind of balance the dark art, quotas a little bit. And also I think it would have been, we were getting extended a bit. So if we sit back, maybe we just see it out. But at the same time, do we want our team to be sitting on a scoreless match, at home? Like, no, we don't. Like, we would be pissed if we were like, they just packed it in, So yeah. The set piece thing, to me, it's second balls. I don't know. I'm sure it's probably driving the coaching staff crazy, because it's like it's one of those things where you're like, that's 1-2. It's the kind of thing that, like, I can picture my high school football coach screaming at us. This is just 1-2. Like
you're seeing space.
Right, just like red faced, like, it's one of those things that, like, a classic American football coach will just like almost like tear himself out of his bike shorts. But like, I don't know what the solution is. I am not a coach of professional footballers. I do think this is something that Trevor seemed to have been very good at instilling somehow, because we did not, even when we were dominating Nisa, we still looked hungry for second balls. Like, we won second balls. We kept ourselves in matches by where we were getting dominated by just winning all the 1-2 balls. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of that in the dying minutes. Whether it's everyone focusing on how they're going to break out and not, finishing the play defensively. Maybe there's some of that. I don't know. It's disappointing.
Real quick from my event, if I was thinking when I was seeing the chance that Ben Morse hit the post on, I felt like Yazid Matthews was a transition play. I felt like Yazid Matthews was a little bit late in getting the ball to Ben. If he gets the ball, or my question to you guys is, seeing the play in the film, if he gets that ball into Ben earlier, does Ben make it 1-0? Or is it easier for Ben to make it 1-0 because he's in stride of it?
I mean, sure, yeah. If the pass doesn't pull him he doesn't have to kind of move his run to meet the ball. Then it's way easier. But honestly, like that's as good a play as it is. I think you can expect from Yazid. I love the dude, but he's not a creative forward at this level. He's a bowling ball that you throw out in there when you're like, I don't fucking know. And so the fact that he saw Ben and got the ball out to him, I was like, yeah, yes. And Ben struck it reasonably well and just didn't.
Better than I thought he was in
target.
that.
Huh?
I thought it was better in that moment because I thought that moment would have been late. But then when he hit the post, I was like, whoa, he made something out of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I mean, Ben did well with that, with what he was given. And
he had other ones where he just guided. So I mean, it's just like it's a crapshoot.
Yeah. Sorry, I just started thinking about the chance that Joyelle missed in the 73rd minute, not horror movie, like oh no, oh my god.
You made that comment in
the music comes up.
Yeah.
You made that comment in the live in the circles that we're in, and I was like, when you're not the one to do it as often as some of our others. So the fact that you said it in that moment of that Joyelle miss, I was like, oh fuck, we're gonna feel this one.
Yeah, it was just it really, we just introduced those subs, so it's kind of a new thing, and they're really running at them, and it's kind of got them shook. Like that's not going to last for long. Like Colorado's going to adjust to this, and then we create that one great chance. Like fuck yes, there it is. Oh no.
Yeah. And then it's like,
oh wow, that's bad.
The real winner from the first part of this Saturday, no question, Carlos Saldana. Reason why? Go check the pre-match photo. Also, props to Carlos. Appreciate you rocking out the bolo tie.
It was excellent. A real clear winner of the Saturday pre-match drip photos.
And it's also great in my circles. I got a group chat with Sean. You'll know this. I got a group chat with Puck, Kate, and Laura.
Okay.
So I'm getting ready for the match to drive down, and this gets dropped there, and someone's like, "Your move, Garrett." And then I'm like, and then I just reply, guess where he got the bolo tie from. So Carlos, the rest of this grapefruit soda is to you on that and the chat. So now we got to shift. We've talked about the pain of Saturday enough.
We talked sadness,
deep sadness, anger. Now we got to hopefully get to joy.
Yes, let it flow through you.
Friday, North Carolina. For the second time this year, Detroit City takes on North Carolina FC and carry North Carolina. A North Carolina FC team who is currently 1 point out of the playoff space. Reason why Rhode Island was 0-0 with Birmingham Legion tonight. I think that's near the end of that match. I don't know if there's any if that's changed a little bit. I haven't checked Bot Mob, but
yes, that has changed.
Huh?
Yes, that has changed.
4.
Rhode Island 3, Birmingham 1.
Damn, it was 0-0.
It happens that way sometimes.
Yeah, that's making that Birmingham result feel really good, really good. Like yeah, we did it. We made them look good on the road. Yay.
Also, that look at what Rhode Island's done since we 2-0'd them at their place on June.
Yeah, they've been on a run.
They fucking woke up. I'm sure Matt and Ryan and I will chat the next time I'm on Tide Talk before match day 2. But North Carolina, first time we played them, April 6th, a physical affair. City won the battle 1-0, but lost the war that day as we lost Elvis and Reese due to injuries. So we know that North Carolina is a physical team. I'm going to switch while I'm on here. I'm switching to Fat Mob because I want to take a look and see how visitors have done against North Carolina, with North Carolina hosting. And as it stands this year, There's only one team that has defeated North Carolina in league play at North Carolina. Phoenix beat them in the Open Cup, but other than that, there's only one team all season so far.
Who?
That is, just turned it off in the men. That is, what the fuck? Thought I was playing tricks on me. That is New Mexico on April 20th, a 3-2 win. A few draws. Battery, Rowdies, Legion at home, Rhode Island, 2-0 win over Monterey, Pittsburgh at home.
Yeah.
They drew Pittsburgh at home. So
they draw. They're not winning a lot of home matches. They're drawing a lot of home matches.
They're getting draws. They're going to be tough and physical.
Yeah, they're very physical. They press super high. If I remember right, like I have to confess, I have a family thing this weekend, so I haven't done a lot of research because I've been doing other shit, like trying to get ready for that. But my memory of them is that they press crazy high, like
super physical, super aggressive,
and they try to step into you at every turn.
I wouldn't call them dirty, but
we just played around them.
Yeah,
the last time, so I don't know. We'll see. Like I do worry that our backline has lost a little confidence since that point of the season, and that if they go balls out and we're just gonna have to skip midfield and blast it long every time, and win second balls and play 4-4 fucking 2 football.
So
if that's what makes you competitive, like that's what you need to do. Like we're going to play it out from the back and turn into a play when playing it out from the back goes wrong, montage. So
Elijah back from red card suspension. Yes or no, gents? Is he back in the starting lineup?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I think he's one of our better players at this point.
Right.
If he's healthy, he plays.
And him and Murphy are a team.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing, I didn't foresee how it was all going to come together, but now that they play together, he and James and Maxie have all kind of clicked into this. Now Maxie's like, haha, I barely have to defend. I could run around and just create havoc and try to see where to go.
That's the best Maxie.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you see this as an opportunity to give Steve and Devin some rest and put Abdi Salim in?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him start to get the minutes. We're loaning him from
City.
We're loaning him from an MLS side, and my guess now that he's been here a while and hasn't gotten starts is that he's not in their plans. That this is them trying to find him a new home for next year, which is great because we need to replenish that part of the this is good for everybody, and it's it's kind of a classic Trevor move to be in touch with them enough to go, you're probably not planning on using him, right? Why don't we get him started here and everybody wins. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get starts. This is the part of the season where guys get worn down, and really with somebody like Steve, at his age, you don't want him to get physically ground down, because that's when the injuries happen, and then suddenly your captain's retired, abruptly as you're trying to get into the playoffs. That's rough. So ideally he gets some time off, and Devin needs time off too. I mean, everybody needs to rotate out.
Right.
We are going to hit a 2-match a week stretch soon, and we're going to need all hands on deck. So you don't want to enter that with all of your second wave guys needing minutes and not really in form. So as we go through these a couple weeks here where we just have one match a week, I think we do need to see some rotation. Of course, it's difficult to rotate when you're in bad form. Like, the more poorly you play, the more you kind of feel constrained to just throw the best 11 out there and like, okay, just fucking do it. Okay. I just need you to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are, I think, is like, oh, we just need you to do it, guys. Like we're good enough to win these matches. Like, but we gotta show up and play well, and then we're all right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about this match, but I worry about every match. I'm legitimately worried.
Yeah. Carlos or Nate?
It's tough. It's not like Carlos's game has no holes in it, and I think you probably, it depends, honestly, to me, if Danny if Danny thinks Carlos is the better candidate, it might behoove him to just let Nate play a little more with bad form and just demonstrate bad form, so that Carlos has a little buffer when he gets in there. So it's not like he gives up a goal and everyone's immediately like, what's playing? Like, it's tough. Like, you want to keep the fans off of either of them, but neither of them are playing like lights out football. And this is clearly the worst we've seen Nate play. It's up a tick, I think, since his the first 10 matches, but just a tick. It's concerning. Like, if I was them, I would be planning for what comes next pretty seriously in that position.
I overheard last Saturday after Rowdy's, waiting for the line. I swear I heard somebody, Danny came by a little bit after, hey, good, great job playing Nate. It's like, I think some amount of supporters, I don't want to say casuals because they're in the thick, but those that might think more not with their heads but more with their hearts and their passionate sides in that, and maybe not the ins and outs and noticing the stats and the things in that, the feelings, is this is a hard one. It's like you see somebody that has been so impactful, passionate, and so City to his core and been amazing. You start to see somebody that has been, I don't say immortal, but close to that, start to become mortal. And then you start to see him not being in as much, and people are like, what the fuck? Why are we playing Nate? Which is people were saying it up against Houston, and then Carlos scored the winner.
Yeah.
Let alone goalkeeper. He scored the winning penalty to get the win.
Yeah, and posted a couple shout-outs in the league after that. And then got lit up and yanked, and Nate came in and did pretty well, and then has given up some soft goals, and so now we're like, well, shit.
Even the two that Carlos gave up against Legion, I mean, we didn't play that second half against Birmingham to win. We played not to lose. And Carlos kept us in that game up until, like, the dam broke in the fucking 83rd. The dam cracked in the 83rd, broke in the 88th in that match. But it would have broken earlier if it wasn't for Carlos' saves in that match. So it's like, I feel it's an interesting point, because I asked that partially because of how many matches there's going to be now, especially through the end of August. Like, when you start to hit two week territory, is this where you start to be like the short rest? You do more that type of thing, little more inclination to tinker.
Whatever Danny does will be criticized. So
I mean, I'm sure he understands the game here. He knows that, like, you've got a suite of choices that you're going to make, and there's literally people waiting behind every choice to tell you you fucking suck. Like, so it's fine. I think the thing that worries me about our goalkeepers is that we are starting to get pressed really consistently and struggle against it. And neither of them have shown any consistency with the ball at their feet this year. I thought Nate had really grown in that matter, and maybe the USL is just bringing the pressure more, or maybe he's fallen off a little bit. I don't know, but it worries me, especially because we're going to be playing a lot of teams when we're on that. Like we've got matches in hand, and we're going to be playing a lot of teams that are playing once a week when we're playing twice a week. So they're going to feel free to run at us, and we got to be clear-headed and sharp to deal with it. And I don't know. The goalkeepers with the ball at their feet worries me.
Not just any teams. Tampa Bay Rowdies in Tampa, Birmingham Legion in Birmingham, Vegas in Vegas. It's like those in form Rhode Island. Those and Sacramento next weekend. Luckily Sacramento hasn't won yet in a month, but Sacramento.
I feel like they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah. That's the type of thing on there. So I'll open this last question about Friday to you, gentlemen. Do we leave North Carolina with 3 points, with one, or none? Alan?
I think that's going to be a draw.
What do you got scoreline?
1-1.
Okay.
I'm an optimist. So
yeah, I'm feeling a scoreless draw. A game of like kind of futility, like 3 saves total for both teams, as we produce
the message on the whiteboard is don't lose this game.
Right, like we produce a monument to anti-football that will be shat upon forever.
It's like we're watching the English national team once all over again. Except for me, not with my English fam like I was on Sunday. In House Ridgeway, at least the food was.
I felt bad for them. Like they just needed to be. To me, they just need to be managed more like a club team. Yeah. Like this idea that the all-star team is going to work. Like no, like you got to have a team that has balance and a coherent path toward goal, and you got Foden and Bellingham and like 12 guys fighting over the middle spaces. Like, dude, what are you fucking doing? You have so many fucking wingers.
It was so wrong.
Dude, just get some wingers, And Harry, and you're gonna press, but you got Harry Kane up top. What are you doing? This is like you get laughed at in Football Manager, like online play if you did this. They're like, what? You're pressing with your 8 pace guy? Okay, terrifying. I only have 6 seconds to pick out my next pass. Like. Anyway,
Andy had a great quote. He goes, "I wish Kane was 10 years younger." And I reply back, "I remember him 10 years ago."
Right.
And
he still wasn't that quick. I mean, like there are reasons why you want Harry Kane on the team. Clearly, like he's so good at like playing at being a creative, chance-making forward. But like. It contradicts the way you're trying to play, and so like you need to have that ruthlessness that a club manager would have. Like, look, I am 2 matches away always from getting fired, so I need to win today. And how are we going to do that? And Harry Kane would have been a great option off the bench at 60 minutes if you're not creating a lot. Like, here's a different look. Here's a crafty guy who's going to like be a complete mindfuck if you've been used to somebody running hard at you. I don't know.
I'm always skeptical about the renewals of national team coaches. That second act just never goes as well.
Yeah.
All I'm just saying to people that are supporter contingent that still bleed red, white, and blue in the national team, which is a different form of sicko. If this Southgate to the U.S. team is actually new SMNT is actually going to happen, y'all better step up on your heart pills, your blood medicate, and I hope you don't get addicted to this thing because you are going to be in for a fucking ride.
I mean.
Yeah,
I think we're in for a ride regardless of what happens, because this group of players are both talented and also feckless dickheads. So, it's not the kind of it's the kind of team where you could really see things aligning and then suddenly just like torching through a tournament. Like it could happen. Gio Reyna could just kind of pull his shit together and produce what his talent promises. But what's most likely to happen is they're going to like fight each other like a bag full of cats and go down in flames. Like we've become what France used to be. Like talented assholes who just like tear into each other the moment they're like isolated with each other. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. That's the entire conversation.
Yeah. 2010 World Cup in South Africa, France, for sure. And how does this relate to City? Because
soccer.
No, it's a great cue. Because we saw this club not clicking completely together last season. A year where because I felt like that was the most out of any year where we didn't seem to really enjoy playing with each other as a group, as a squad, cohesion. We have seemed to have the cohesion a lot more this year. Where Alan, I think you were saying, and Sean, it's a long fucking season. We're going through a rough stretch. How does that relate to Friday? I'm torn between the 1-0 and the 1-1 because Friday you're on
1-0
the road.
to the Courage or whatever. Or they're not the Courage, right? Are they the
same
Courage?
ownership, same crest.
They're just in CFC.
Yeah. To me, we seem to play better. We're getting back to that what always used to be a thing in the later Trevor years, where we'd be better on the road than we were at home. We'd win more. And I don't know if it's the guys feeling free or they getting the edge. Granted, we've only had really 2 away matches in the last month, or 3 if you count OC on June 1. The last 2 have been 2-0 win at Rhode Island, a 4-0 win at Miami. So I don't see it definitely being like that. I think it's going to be a fucking fight Friday. I think it's going to be. I also be like, I don't care how you get it done Friday. Get the win. And like I said, if it's got to be a bit gritty, if it's got to be a little bit more physical, if it's not going to be the if you got to fucking just go route one, or you just be direct, give something, take shots at goal, do something on that. I hate this because they made me look like a fool after last week when I said the walking on Memphis. And they got walked on at the end. I'm gonna still give them this faith because I want to. They're the guys and all that. 1-0, but I will not be surprised if it's the opposite. Just because this is a North Carolina team that they have they're going to be in their stretch 2 in that middle things where they need to start getting wins to get into the bottom half of the playoff, and we're in their way on Friday. So I think we can do it 1-0, and I think we have to do it Friday to get ready for Sacramento coming into town next weekend. Because if we come into that match on a loss or on that, and the confidence is a bit down, that could get fucking ugly.
I don't know. I mean, I'm deeply cognizant of the fact that like this is the thing to remember about all your favorite professional athletes is they are working. This is work.
Right.
They're doing a job. And our guys aren't so wealthy that they have, huge individual support staffs making sure their sleep has been taken care of and they're perfectly aligned every moment. There's like they're regular working people, so their performance does waver more. The performance, I think, in USLW in USL Championship does waver more a little than you would usually see at a first division level, and that's just because of that. The players don't have that huge amount of wealth to, provide support systems for yourself. So the performances go up and down. So, like, I would counsel people who get sad about losses that that losses don't necessarily portend further losses. Like there is a certain sort of on a given day aspect to every match. And the structure of a season is much more complicated in the end than it seems in the moment. So like we'll understand later what was happening behind the scenes and why they were struggling with this or that. For right now, there's a lot of and so don't despair. We'll be all right.
It's a long season. It's the middle of the thick of summer, so we shall see.
Yeah, we got months to despair. Yeah, like hold up. Like,
we're gonna segue, get ready to wrap on here. Why don't we go in? I'm presuming Jaime's down for the count tonight. So we'll roll with our three. Any closing thoughts that we've had? We've covered a lot, but we may have a little bit more. Sean, what you have anything?
No.
Alan, what about you, bud?
Just a little tidbit here. We had some youth team action.
Oh yes, awesome.
The 2008 Boys Rouge. Where's that out of? I forget which.
Downriver,
maybe. No, South Oakland. And they were at Nationals, and they won.
Yeah, undefeated.
And that's a big achievement. U.S. Youth Soccer National President's Cup champions. So big shout out to them.
Those are 2008s. So
yeah, 2008. So
awesome.
That's a great sign. That our affiliate youth clubs are getting it done. So that looks good for everybody, and looks good for the club.
South Oakland was the one that I always heard was kind of a newer, more casual group. So hearing them kind of piling up talent and going and wrecking their league that's amazing. Like, all right,
that's good.
Way to go, guys.
So I'll give credit. Yeah, so I think shout out. I know Tyler, and also maybe even put Charlie Miles in there too, because it seemed like from what I was following the two team started their UPSL spring a little bit rough, but they kicked it in as the season went on. It looked like they started to get some good results, good momentum. A couple of their players featured in the friendly against Pumas. So
yeah.
If this youth and this next generation is starting to show signs right now, it's kind of like what you're seeing in a way with Loje Arvichampa and the Nationals ladies. Game experience is game experience, and competitive game experience is competitive game experience. And if you get it early on at a young age, it creates an edge in you in those things. So that's really cool. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing it in there, Alan, because it's a great sign. Great sign.
That was a great finisher. Applause.
I hear that youth are our future. So
I just hope we teach them well and then we let them lead the way.
Just hoping, man.
I just hope the children of the world could join hands and
show them all the beauty
let's just stop
they have
that
inside.
Right. If buy a World of Coke thing, I'm gonna be fucking losing it. But my thing is, did you have anything else on, or were you good?
No, that's it.
Anyone involved in from the PASL side to the USL W League side this entire 7 months, coaching, playing, everybody, hats off.
Thank you so much.
Done. Thank you so much. Memories you've created, the joy you've brought to all of us, and you've experienced and taken in. Well earned, well deserved. Saw Gabrielle Schreiber got the Golden Glove for W League this year.
Yes, that's
Keeper
huge.
Of the year.
Amazing.
3 goals in regular play. I mean, that's insane.
So everybody, literally, like this has been an absolute joy. It's been an absolute joy to even, I feel like for me in my state now, like it's been an absolute joy to cover this. And and Sean, I know you and we've talked about a lot of time. We talked about it, and we've even seen it. And Alan too. It's like from even January, just sitting on the boards, and watching this thing manifest in how they play for each other, and that is great and awesome. And it's the generations. You're seeing the leading generation motivate the ones that are immediately behind them, motivating those that are immediately behind them, and it's continuing, and it's fucking great to see. And did Saturday hurt at the end? Yeah, but you know what? The best is yet to come. So if you if you couldn't see this team or PSL by circumstances in life, anything about that, when the things get announced for whenever that's coming next, do what you can to go see them, because there's talent, they're great people, and you're going to be in for a fun ride. So all the best to everybody on there. We're incredibly proud of you. You've represented and been what this club is needed. So thank you. And with that, we hope that all are as well as can be. It has been a grind. I think especially I could feel for those involved in the supporters. Like I know, to give a factoid, since June 1st, the men and women, counting the men's friendly, there were 12 matches at Keyworth Stadium since June 1st between the men and the women.
Oh, we
15 when you go back to May 1st, 18 when you go back to April 1st.
We've had double headers. We've had 3-game weekends. Oh man, it's been a cascade of matches.
So the fact that we are playing on Friday for the men, and then there's a weekend that is open, I don't know what to fucking do. I hope that all find time to, whether it's resting. I do know one thing that's happening this weekend. A friend of the channel, a friend of all of us, Sean Juice Grogan and his missus, soon to be, are going to become Mr. and Mrs. this weekend. Juice, congratulations. All the best to you. Hope it's a wonderful wedding ceremony.
Lighting their troth.
Yeah. So all of our congratulations to you and the fam from us here, both at 451 and Majors fam, and Sicko fams, all in there. So everyone be good. Take care of yourselves. Be mindful. Be good to each other as much as you can. Take care of yourselves, especially through this difficult times that are, and with that win, lose, draw, City overall, be on there. And good night, everyone. Good morning, or whenever the fuck you're checking us out, and we go onward.
Peace.
The rules on the scene, wipe your feet when you creep through the gates of Key. We holding the crown, many enter our grounds, but they get pounded down. Let's turn around, you enter through those gates, you face your fate now. Come take your shot, many come, but they don't leave, they cleave to what we got.